150 years ago, if you walked into a dark room, you either had a candle or you probably were just bumping into a lot of furniture. Then Edison blessed us with the light bulb. But we also changed our entire nervous system in the name of progress. If it were nighttime, we were walking around with candles, trying not to stub our toes. And then all of a sudden, we were lighting entire cities. Early factories called electrical lighting daylight at midnight. Now you can work at any time of day. And all that enthusiasm to get a lot of work done found its way into our homes. Walk into any room into your home, hit a switch, and it ruins everything. At least that's what the internet will have you think. But it does resonate. Why is it that one of the greatest inventions of all time made its way into your living room and turned it into a Costco? My job for the last 12 years has been in cinematography. You will not find a single cinematographer who does not hate overhead lighting. The overheads, they wash everything out. It makes everything one-dimensional. Flick on the overheads and everything is illuminated. It gives the audience member, when you're watching our movies, no idea where to focus your attention. Generally, as a cinematographer, you want to make a pretty image. When looking at a frame, I would always think about layers of light and dark and light and dark. Most beautiful images are dynamic like that. From a cosmetic perspective, if you take a guy like me, if I'm actually in front of the camera, you do not want to be overhead lighting me. I've got the caveman eyebrow, some of these baggy eyes, I'm working on that. It's not a very flattering look. But all this stuff, you do not need to be a professional to feel why the overhead light's off. I know some more spiritual-like folks who can walk into a room and sense energies. Somebody in this room has an inbox full of 1099s that they're worried about, that kind of stuff. When I walk into a room with the overhead lights on, you feel that in your spine even if you don't own a fancy light meter like I do. You might have seen those people online, the soft light pornographers. There's a whole community on the internet dedicated to discussing these matters. How did we get to a point where it seems like half of society doesn't use the technology that's built into their homes? The year is 1882. Up to this point, factory work is mainly done during daylight hours. Factories have big windows that let in lots of natural light, so the workers can get their stuff done. There was the occasional gas lamp, but that had its own safety concerns, and they were largely impractical, so you didn't see that a ton. As a result, most factory work was done during the day. Right around this time, Edison does magic. Heat tungsten in a vacuum glass bulb, and somehow it creates light. Shortly thereafter, we have the Pearl Street Station in New York City, the first power plant. Now we have light bulbs and the ability to distribute power. Edison has his incandescent bulb. But in 1901, Cooper Hewitt invents the mercury vapor bulb. Incandescent heats tungsten until it glows. Mercury vapor excites a gas until it emits light. These lights are brighter and they're more efficient. Problem, they're also ugly as shit. Incandescent was more fire-like. The mercury vapor is industrial, and we see it proliferate across factories everywhere. Some genius marketing guy calls it daylight at midnight, and you can imagine, if you own a factory, you kind of want that. That means your workers can work a lot more, all day, all night. The same concept of the overhead light made its way into the office spaces. In 1938, we see the invention of the fluorescent bulb, those tubes. Similar technology to the mercury vapor, a little bit more energy efficient, cheaper, and it lasts longer. Easy to put up into the ceiling too. We would see the overhead fluorescent lights in office buildings and corporate spaces, hospitals. This is when lighting turned into efficiency. Lumens per square foot. That's how we would measure. 1950s, 1960s. Post-war suburban home boom. The overhead lights were already a norm in the factories and the office buildings, so they make their way into the homes. You are not a modern home unless you have overhead lights. Why? Well, it's one switch. Hit a button, on comes your light. That's attractive. A singular light in a room means it's easier to wire. Easier to wire means it's easier to code. Easier to code, less red tape, easier to regulate, the houses get built quicker. We have been in our home for about 8 months. Erica and I spent about 2 years trying to find the right spot. It became our weekend activity to go to various open houses, and basically every single real estate agent who was showing their place, first thing they would do when greeting us would mention the beautiful recessed overhead lighting. And the first thing that Erica and I would do, we'd turn those off. We wanted to see the space. What does the natural light look like? So many people seem to know this, but then I'm reminded on a 4 a.m. walk when I see my neighbor, who's also a nurse, get home from her night shift, and she flicks on the overhead lights. Incredibly bright light illuminate from inside the house outside into the street, and I'm reminded that not everybody thinks this way. Yet it does seem like we yearn for the old candle days. Case in point, I have a love-hate relationship with portable lamps, but if you try to buy a lamp these days, there is a good chance that it's not going to be one that you can plug in. They're battery operated. What I've found with these lamps is as soon as I go to turn it on, it's dead. I've forgotten to charge it. I have made a guide though, documenting some of the tips and tricks that I've developed that have made it a little bit easier to implement these portable lamps into my lifestyle. I will make sure to put a link in the description so you can download that. You have no doubt seen your favorite biohacker wear those nerdy orange glasses. I myself have probably 5 pairs, and there's a good reason for it. Humans evolved for sun during the day and firelight at night. Coded deep into this biology that has evolved for millions of years, the daylight would signal alertness, your cortisol rhythm, focus. Firelight was wind down time. Time for your nervous system to downshift. Sleepy time. This has been proven in a ton of different studies, and when I was researching for the essay that I wrote for this, I came across this dude named Siffre, this French chronobiologist. He did this experiment where he spent 2 months in a cave, no sunlight. His circadian rhythm shifted to 25 hours instead of 24. He ended up sleeping a lot. I probably would too if I was in the dark for that long, but it does prove the point that if you've changed something that's been evolving for millions of years, what does it do to your programming? Soft light porn. The TikTok kids have already intuited this. All that big light bad energy. You've seen the videos. Turn off the overhead lights, or you're a bad person. I'm very annoyed by those videos, mainly because they frame it like it's a moral argument. My second, probably equally annoyed annoyance about those videos, the solution always ends up making it seem like you need to have 12 different lamps scattered across your house. So many different color temperatures. You've got a red over here and an orange and a blue. There's so many cables, it looks so disorganized. My Alexa's got all the answers and it's a secret between her and I. The pendulum always seems to swing in the exact opposite direction. Not just one overhead light, now we have a ton. And if you turn on all those soft lamps, doesn't it seem like we just have the exact same problem? You just end up with a shit ton of light. Maybe it's a little bit prettier, maybe it photographs better, but is it worth it? Overhead lighting sucks. But I think indiscriminate lighting sucks. One of the best bang for your bucks when transforming your home from operating table to sanctuary is to pay a little attention to the lighting. Cut the overheads and opt for alternatives. It seems like there's a lot of ADHD going around these days. Us ADHD bros, we struggle with focus already. If you turn on the overhead lights, your eyeballs, they go everywhere, but nowhere. It was my profession for a very long time to obsess about lighting, and still I find the world extremely overwhelming. So my suggestion is to start small. When it's nighttime, start with a single lamp. Move it to an area, plug your lamp into a wall, or get one of those portable lamps, and place it where you do the thing. This is more about the behavior and less about the aesthetics. But build it and the vibes will come. Before electricity, your attention followed the flame. One candle focused your attention. One switch flooding a room with light scatters your attention. And in that world, it's hard to know what matters. As always, since I don't have all the answers, I will leave you with a question. When somebody walks into your home, what will the light say matters to you?